Hey everyone, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina. I make videos about living in my tiny house on wheels and living a more intentional life. And on Wednesdays, I do usually recipes. So if you're interested in that, check out the Wednesday video. So as you know, if you have been watching my channel for a little while, I fitted out the van as a camper van over the spring and summer, and this summer I took it out to Vancouver Island to start just scouting out a place that potentially I could move the tiny house to next spring or summer. Today I'm just going to chat a little bit about what I found out. So the first question that you're probably thinking, and that I have been getting asked a lot, is did I find a spot? And the answer is no, I did not find a spot. I didn't really expect to find a spot. Sort of my goal in that trip was to scout out the locations, the places on the island and on the mainland as I was going by that I might want to live, and get a feel for what it was like there, what the communities were like, and what the weather might be like, and also then look at potential spots. In my mind, there are three options actually. The first option is a mobile home park, which is where I am now here in Calgary. The second option is a year-round RV park, recreational vehicle park. And then the third option would be to buy a little piece of property and park serendipity on that. And I've already mentioned in other videos that someday I wouldn't mind owning a little piece of property, but right now that's not something that I'm prepared to do. It's not something that I can really afford right now, and I'm not sure where I want to end up. And when you buy a piece of property, obviously you're tied to that location, and the goal right now is to not be tied to land. So for the next little while at least, I need a place where I can park that I'm renting. So what did I find out? Well, I stayed at campgrounds mostly while I was away. Most of them had RV sections where the RVs looked like they were there fairly permanently. They, were skirted in. They had built little decks, things like that. So I knew that these were seasonal, long-term parking spots for RVs. One of my motivations when I was building the tiny house was to make sure that I gave myself as many options for parking as possible down the road. And so when you're building a house on a trailer, that trailer has a VIN number, a vehicle identification number, and it has to be registered as something. And it can be registered as a mobile home, a park model, or a recreational vehicle. I did not register mine as a recreational vehicle because in Alberta, where I am right now, you cannot live year-round in a recreational vehicle. You can park it year-round. There are year-round parks, RV parks, but you are limited to, I believe it's 180 days that you can stay in it in a year. So instead, and it's not a mobile home, so instead I registered my trailer as a park model. And I also used a builder that was CSA certified and RVIA certified, which is the certification for builders who are building recreational vehicles and park models, RVs, things like that. So I stayed at multiple campgrounds that had long-term seasonal rentals. However, none of the ones that I stayed at allowed permanent residency. So you couldn't have it as your only home, and you couldn't live in it year-round, which was a little discouraging because I had originally thought that that would be probably the easiest thing to find. So I also did drive through and sort of search out mobile home parks. And there are a fair number on Vancouver Island. And I drove through a number of them as well. I did not find any that had an empty lot. These parks are beautiful, most of them. They are the trailers that are there look like they've been there a very long time. I didn't see a single one that looked like it had been recently moved in. They were there long term, which means that people might, just like in the park I am now, people sell their trailers all the time, but they don't move their trailers out. They don't move their trailer from park to park. It's only when a trailer gets moved out or demolished, as in the case of the spot that I'm in now. The trailer that was here basically got demolished, and then this lot sat empty. And so I was able to snag it and move in. None of the parks that I drove through had empty lots. So that was a bit discouraging, because that was sort of my fallback. Because I'm in a mobile home park now, I thought that that would probably be my best bet. And it certainly would be, and it would be cost-wise basically the same as what I'm paying here, but you just can't find an empty spot, because people don't move their trailers out. They move, but they sell the trailer to somebody new, and that person then takes over paying the rent for the lot when they move in. Interestingly, when I got back, one of my lovely viewers told me that she lived on the island in a mobile home park, and that the lot next to her was empty. I was super excited and got the contact information for the owners of the park, of the mobile home park, and did talk to a lovely fellow. But unfortunately, there was actually 2 empty lots in that park right on the ocean, which was amazing. But they had already contracted with a mobile home builder to have trailers put on those lots that then they could rent out, which was really too bad. But I guess it just wasn't meant to be my spot. But again, they own that park. They own another mobile home park, and he knows owners of other mobile home parks. So now he will keep an eye out for any spots. I'll keep touching base with him. And that's something that I think is really kind of important. The more people you talk to, the more people you have sort of looking out for a spot for you. And also, I think it's really important to have pictures or a video of what your house looks like ready to send when you do talk to owners and management companies of RV parks and mobile home parks, because many people don't know what these are, or they've only seen some videos on HGTV or something like that. And if you can show them how cool it is, they get really excited. That didn't work. I'll insert some video of me driving through some of the parks. They were really pretty, some of the mobile home parks that I was in. They just didn't have any spots available. Wishina in Nanaimo. Timberland, our mobile home park in Ladysmith. Definitely not as nicely maintained. Burnham Mobile Home Park. Comox-ish area. Cute, remote, but cute. Alright, this is Hidden Valley Mobile Home Park, just outside of Victoria. This is a seniors one. It's ages 55 plus. Luckily, I'm 56, so I would actually qualify. So ultimately, I didn't, on my trip, find a spot that would work for me, that had the availability, especially since, I'm not ready to move right away. In hindsight, it all worked out for the best, because, a few weeks after I got back, all of the flooding happened in BC and all of that. So that would have been a really horrible time to be in transit, or, just got somewhere, especially if it was a place that was right next to a river or something like that. So recently, though, I was in touch with a RV park in Qualicum Beach, which is just outside of Parksville on Vancouver Island. And they have year-round RV lots, and they allow year-round living. So here's the thing. There are a lot of parks, RV parks, that that are open year-round, and they allow you to park your trailer, maybe even tiny house, year-round. But what they won't do is allow you to live there. In fact, I was looking at one the other day, and what it says on their site is that their sites are open year-round, but the rule states that the sites are for recreational use only and may not be rented as your only residence for a long-term stay. In fact, their lease agreements expire every 6 months and then have to be reapproved by the management company every 6 months. That's not going to work, right? Because I'm not moving. I don't want to have to move the house every 6 months. I don't want to be sort of caught in a situation where I now have to find another spot. And, because she's not an RV. I don't have a truck. I can't just hook it up and off I go, sort of thing. So that sort of thing isn't going to work. And that's really important, because I saw a lot of RV parks that have year-round rates, but they don't allow you to live in your unit in their park year-round as your permanent residence. But this place does, and in fact, I was told the owner actually would love to sort of slowly over time move towards having all tiny houses, like a tiny house village there. So they do allow you to live year-round in the park. So that's very exciting. And I do think that probably a year-round RV park that allows year-round living is where I'm going to start, especially if I want to be on the island, because once I get there, then I'll get a feel for where I am and what's available. Ultimately, I need a place to start, and I want it to be fairly flexible. So what are the downsides of moving into an RV park that does allow you to live year-round in your tiny house? Well, they have high seasons and low seasons, and they have a different monthly rent for each of those seasons. April, May to the end of September is the high season. October through April-ish, your low season. So the costs can vary substantially between those two. For the high season, depending on the park, you could spend anywhere from like $12.50 a month to $1,500 plus a month to rent a spot in an RV park during the peak season. For the low season, the rent could go down to $750 to $1,000-ish. So that's a big difference, and that's pretty expensive. I pay just over $800 here a month, including my water and sewer and everything like that. I only pay my gas and electricity. So it's not cheap here, don't get me wrong. Roughly somewhere in the middle of the low season rates in an RV park on Vancouver Island. But then in high season, that's substantially more. It could go up to almost double of what I'm paying now for those months. The park that I was talking to, your water, your sewer, and your basic internet are included, but your electricity is not. So electrical and propane would be my costs. So it's not an inexpensive place to move to. Once I got off the island and coming back, and through Salmon Arm and such, I did see some really pretty spots, and I am definitely going to keep an eye out for mobile home parks and RV parks on the mainland. If I could find a little spot in a mobile home park that was in a great, like a nice location, I would move in, and I would commit to a couple of years at least there. Get used to being in BC, being on the island, and decide what I wanted to do next. So the good news is that people are excited about having tiny houses in these parks. And because of how my trailer is registered, I can be in a mobile home park and I can be in an RV park. So I have options. Because my builder was RVIA certified and CSA certified, I can be in a mobile home park. I can be in a RV park. It seems to me, based on the people I've talked to, that it really depends on the park. So I just got to keep talking to people, phoning them, emailing them. But what I always do is I always start the conversation with describing the house, telling them that I've used a professional builder and that they're certified. And then I always send them a video of the tiny house tour. I mean, I know that in my case, it's a little unique because I have a video, but it doesn't take much to grab your phone, because that's all I film on, and do a little tour of your house so that you can then send that to the places that you are talking to so that they can get a sense of what the tiny house looks like. Everyone I talk to is super intrigued and excited about tiny houses. I do think that they need to maybe rethink how they would rent out to a tiny house versus an RV, because the tiny house is going to come and it's going to stay for a longer period of time. So maybe having a different sort of rent structure that levels it out, maybe because now you have guaranteed revenue long term. Maybe there could be some incentives that they could provide to attract more tiny houses. And I do think that that's something that should happen and probably will happen as more and more tiny houses start to move in. You know, that's certainly what I'll advocate for. I'm a firm believer that the right spot will show up when I need it. You know, I'm proactive, I'm looking, I'm talking to people, and that is great because that gets me knowing some people who then know other people, and often that's how you find places. Because I would never have found that mobile home park that my subscriber put me in touch with, ever. They don't have a website. They weren't in the listings when I was doing my research. I wouldn't have even known it was there. And it's on the Souk side of Vancouver Island. I don't know if that's east, west, or south. Dyslexic, remember? And I just don't know. As with so many things in life, it's often who you know that then puts you in touch with somebody else and you find what you're looking for. I'm confident that I'll find a spot. There's no point in me being, panicking now, because I'm not moving during the winter. I'm not taking the house over the mountains in the wintertime. I have time. I have to resign myself to the fact that if I want to live on Vancouver Island, it is going to be expensive. Whether you're in a house or in an apartment, a mobile home park, or an RV park, it's going to be expensive because it's Vancouver Island and so many people want to live there. So I just wanted to share that, guys. I hope that was helpful. It's a journey that I'm on, that I'm taking you on, and as I learn more and know more, I'll certainly let you know. If I find some places that are really intriguing and I'm really interested in, I probably will fly out to Vancouver Island and just buzz around and have a look, meet some people. So yeah, there are options. I don't know exactly where I'll end up, but I am definitely moving this house next year. That's a for sure, because I've already been here 2 winters longer than I intended because of Coronageddon, and again, that was, I'm sure, meant to be. So guys, that's the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Take care. I hope you're staying safe. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. What? Don't be grumpy. You gotta be happy for the people. The people want you to be happy.